live.
We're live whenever you want it to be live.
Whoa,
It's recording.
this is crazy.
Really good. Check. Double check. Got him.
Okay.
Wait, I'm paranoid about this shit. I gotta okay, we're at
Word.
25 seconds here. We've dropped some inspirational knowledge on them folks.
Ready?
You're the lead of this podcast. I'm just here.
Hey guys, welcome to New Society, and I'm your host, Carlo Jean-Michel. With me is my special co-host, Jordan Peterson. And we're back. I am so excited to be doing this. Let me start over.
Wow, that was... What was that?
It lacks
I am
luster.
so excited to be doing this.
I know, I want to start over.
God. Yeah.
I loved everything except for the and we're back. Oh, you got one. Sweet.
Just a little bit.
Hey guys, welcome to New Society. And I'm... Should I have waited until after you're done?
I mean...
Here we go. Hey guys, welcome to New Society, and I am your host, Carlo Jean-Michel. With me is my special co-host, Jordan Peterson. I am so excited for today's episode. We are talking about relationships, boys and girls.
Right.
That's right.
No!
Relationships.
I've been bamboozled.
Oh,
I thought this is ageism.
We talked about this at the last episode.
Oh, this is the surprise.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, there was a plot twist. I'm so excited about this. I kind of just with everything that's going into this right now, I feel like
Continue.
I-
This is why you're talking. This is...
I'm excited because I feel like I kind of want this to be the first episode. This is by far this is actually
It should be interesting.
technically it's the number 2 most discussed topic of discussion.
In
It's-
what? The world or...
In regards to casual conversation, once I'm engaged or once people find out I'm a life coach or whatever. I was gonna say number 1, but I always bring it back to the person. I always bring it back to the individual, but they always want to start, or it always centers around a girl or a boy, and yeah, so
Okay.
it's kind of how it works.
This should
So
be fun. Let's go. Let's
there's
do
just
this.
so much information here, and we're just gonna dive right in. Here we go.
Alright.
So, for those of us that, either have the experience or just were, trained as far as proper, what a lot of people consider proper, the interviewing process as far as finding a job. The process is you go into the interview, and from the moment you walk into the door, you're vetting them just as much as they're vetting you. You're looking at the culture. You're looking at your would-be boss, your would-be coworkers. You do your research beforehand so that in the interview, whenever they ask, did you have any questions or things that you're looking for, you kind of made a list and you did your research as far as how do they feel about this? How do they feel about this? Whatever it is. And ideally, let's say you have a 10-year plan or a 20-year plan or whatever. You're basically looking at this job and the whole time we're in the interview process, you're like, how exactly are you going to help me reach my goal in 5 or 10 years? Mm-hmm. Is it going to be with this company? Is it going to be a lateral move to another company? Is it going to be, whatnot? However, how often do you think your average person does the exact same thing when it comes to relationships?
Just me, pretty much. I tell people, I'm like, send me your resume.
Dude, if so, kudos to you. That's exactly how it should be. You spend all this time vetting, and in regards to that, there was a study, I think we talked about this last week. There was a study where, on average, if you work a 40-hour a week job,
Mm-hmm.
you spend more time with your coworkers than you do your own family,
Yeah.
the people that you live with. So it makes total sense. You want to put that effort in. You want to make sure that you found the right spot. It's a mutually beneficial relationship for both of you. However, again, with relationships, people don't think like this. I actually say, how often do you really stop and you look at a person, or at some point, you know, throughout getting to know each other, or the dating process, which we'll get to dating, don't worry. How often do you actually say, how do I feel about the possibility of my face being, 12, 24 inches from your face, waking up to that and going to sleep to that every single night for the rest of my life? How do I feel about you being the parent that co-parents with me in raising our children?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, where do I see myself? I don't know where that accent came from. Where do I see myself going? Where do I see myself? You know, like, end game. Do I want to travel? Do I want to, you know, be here for 5 years and then be there for 5 years? Like, what are the ideals? What are the morals that I want to instill in our family? Things like that. And I feel like a lot of times it gets to the point where, holy shit, you're so hot and I cannot believe that you're into me. And oftentimes that's as far as it goes. I've seen it. It's, and I get it. It's, again, we're a product of our environment. And in the US, we've discussed this in the men's episode and the women's episode, check those out. You know, men are depicted to be a certain way, women are depicted to be a certain way, and in your demographic, in your subculture, you have ideals that you think your partner should live up to. And here's the thing. What do you think your partner should live up to? And I recently started posting a lot on social media on my personal Instagram account, Carlo32 on Instagram, check it out. And in one of them, it talks about how so often we have this expectation in a partner to live up to who we think we're supposed to be.
So like a projection of yourself onto them.
Right. Like in the sense of whoever the most influential voices in your head are. Your parents, your friends, your boss, your coach, your sibling, whoever it is. This person that usually you look up to them, usually you're convinced that they have your best interest at heart, you value their judgment. For the most part, they give you really good advice, and it's almost like, without realizing it, you want to almost live up to their expectation of you, which is a beautiful sentiment. However, just because someone wants the best for you doesn't mean they know what that looks like.
Yeah.
And there is a really awesome TED Talk, and all of the research that I've been doing or re-editing of this, I forgot to look it up, but it talks about how now is the best time to date yourself. I will find it and I'll put it in the comments. But she basically talks about how what we've kind of been talking about, like off script and in general, and, you know, conversations that I've had, where the best thing for you to do is to actually date yourself. So often we hear that, you know, like when you get out of a bad breakup, or I've personally heard it so many times, you know, like where, oh, you should date yourself for a while, or, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like, at least for me, I didn't know what that meant. Mm-hmm. I was like, that sounds so dumb.
Yeah.
What exactly does that entail?
It's boring.
And to me, it means something like this. I know when I'm in a relationship and the person that I'm with is dealing with a lot of stress at work, or has a huge project coming up, or has a deadline, or has, you know, this seemingly insurmountable task before them, I do my best to support them in any way that I can. I've dated a lot of guys with completely different interests and aspirations as me, so at the end of the day, I couldn't really be the support that I wanted to be for them, because I just didn't know what they know or what it is that they do. However, I knew the basics. Like, I could, whenever they get home, make sure dinner's waiting for them. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Or, you know, let's say they have to pull an all-nighter. They're going to be up all night. I stay up as long as I possibly can. I create a soothing ambiance. Like, I'll light candles. I'll play music. I'll, You know, like at some point I'll make a snack for no other reason but just for the fact that that's what I would want if I was in the situation. If I'm overwhelmed, the person that I'm with can't really help, but they want to support me, it'd be really nice if everything that I just said happened. You know what I mean? Not to say that I'm expecting it, but it's just, it's the little things. We all know what I'm talking about. Yet, when it comes to us, when we're stressed out, when we're overwhelmed, when we have a deadline that we're trying to meet, I feel like we don't think twice about ourselves. Mm-hmm. We don't, think, oh, let me go easy on myself today. Let me, pull back the pressure just a little bit. Let me, just take a few minutes, be a little bit more patient, et cetera, et cetera. We don't do that. We don't know how to do that because I feel like, for lack of a better phrase, we're not trained to do that. I feel like I've mentioned it in some of the episodes up until now. Usually when we refer to ourselves, it's usually, who do I think I am? I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I did that. I'm such an idiot. I embarrass myself. My body hates that I'm saying these words right now. Because I don't talk like that anymore. And I used to for so long, for so many years, because there was this humility involved. Because I feel like, words like being self-centered or being the center of your universe, in contrast from old society to new society thinking, was frowned upon. Like, what makes you so special? Like, those words are associated with narcissism, with etc. And I feel like, in my personal journey with meditation, with taking time for myself, with me being the center of my universe, that's the goal. It's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Every single person's understanding of the world is from their personal perspective. It's from your upbringing. It's from your interactions. It's from your dating. I said that dating word again. And I feel like the second best piece of dating advice that I've ever heard was from a coworker at my last office job. And she said that in her household, the rule is that they can date, her kids can date whoever they want. The only rule is that nothing serious until you're 25. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, that's genius. Because I feel like when it comes to dating, people forget that dating is a verb. It's what you do. It's active. It's ongoing. And the point is, as far as she's concerned, until you're 25, you're all over the place. 1 year you're into this, the next year you're into this, the third year you're into this, and they're all completely different from each other.
Yeah.
And as far as she's concerned, when you get into a serious relationship, you're committed. You're committed to that person. They're committed to you, and you're growing together. And I feel like a lot of times, for my just as soon as she said that, I wanted this huge thought, tangent, and this is what it is, or what it was. And I feel like you're still growing, you're still evolving, and more importantly, I love it because you are accustomed to having it be a verb. You're accustomed to having it be casual. You're accustomed to, going with the flow. And with every person that you date, you're supposed to learn about yourself. You're supposed to learn about what you like versus what you don't like. Ooh, this is really great about this person. Let me explore more, see how it goes. Maybe I can learn other stuff. Or, oh, I didn't like this about this person. Apparently I'm not into that in a partner. Or at least that's how it's supposed to be. And I feel like so often, with our upbringing, with our traumas, and how so many of us don't know to heal from them and allow them into our consciousness so that we could actually process and again, I feel like I've talked a lot about this, so I'm trying to get to the point because we have a lot to cover. I feel like I got caught up. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like I said, you have these expectations of the people that you look up to the most. You want to satisfy their goals and their projections for your life. But then you throw in the trauma. You throw in the neglect that you experienced growing up. You throw in the abandonment issues. You throw in the fact that you felt like you were always overlooked. call it a good thing, call it a bad thing. There's a common misconception that middle child syndrome is a serious problem because the middle child is always overlooked. You know, the first is the oldest, and then the youngest is the baby, and oftentimes the conception is that you know, the middle child is kind of just there, and they don't feel like they get nearly as much attention, and you deal with that. So the example that I used here was, you know, let's say that's your biggest thing. So you find someone who, you know, always puts you first, or your goal in a relationship, the most important thing for you is always being put first. And all of a sudden you find yourself on the beach on a summer day playing volleyball, and you're dating someone who's super competitive, and you know as well as they do that you suck at volleyball. Yet you get really pissed off when they don't choose you, and they go with someone else. And then all of a sudden, by the time you're alone with them, you lose it. You go off, and you're just talking about this, you're talking about that, you're bringing up things that don't even apply to the situation because it's the trauma that's been triggered by them not choosing you. It has nothing to do with how much they love you or don't love you. It has nothing to do with anything but the fact that you're playing a competitive game and they want to do well, and you know this about them, and you know that you're not good. So how is this logical? Why are we fighting about this? You know what I mean? And I feel like that happens so often, and I'm guilty of it too. And the other option is to do the work. The other option is to sit with yourself while you're dating. Let's say you come home, you've had a long week. I do this all the time. Light candles, play some jazz music. There's a really awesome station on Pandora called Cloud Busting by this instrumental band called Eclipse with a K. And they're so good, and it's basically like top 40. There's a term for basically top 40 instrumentals, and I play that, have a glass or two of wine, relax, unwind, and I feel like in those moments where you know, I reflect about my day, and I reflect about the things that frustrated me versus, you know, the things that were exciting, and I feel like I'm at a point now where the things that frustrate me, I take time. And I'm like, okay, interesting. Like, why was I frustrated? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'm all about learning about my power is mine. For anyone to frustrate me, I have to give them some kind of power over me. Why did I give that power away, et cetera, et cetera. Point is, do the work. Then, fast forward, you're in that exact same situation, and you're like, you know what? Good call you didn't pick me because I want you to win. I want this win for you, babe. See the difference? It's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. It's that simple. So, dating, it's a verb. It's what you do. It's active. You're supposed to explore. You're supposed to figure out, because the more you learn, the more it modifies who, like, you evolve. You evolve. There was an awesome quote today that I saw. Did I write it down? I did. It's right here. It says, to love someone long term is to attend 1,000 funerals of the person they used to be. It's on IG, and it's from Lightworkers Lounge account. And I love that. I feel like a lot of times the misconception in relationships is that you're with your person. You're married, you know, it's forever, and you, this is your person. And it sucks because I feel like it boils down to you're stuck together. You're here, you're not going anywhere, you're mine. And I think that's so dangerous because that's where you stop trying. I mentioned this in one of the, I believe it was in the sex episode. It is the sexologist Jessica O'Reilly and her TED Talk called Monogamish. And the stats in the talk are that the modern marriage in North America, divorce rate is still over 40%, infidelity is 25 to 40%, and satisfaction rates in marriage plummet soon after the honeymoon, never to recover. And that's awful.
That's depressing.
Those stats are awful. Again, this is old society thinking. This is how it's been up until now. And I think these are the reasons why. Because when it comes to relationships, how many of us have healthy examples of healthy relationships in our lives where communication is key, where if it's not working, you address it. And if it's irreputable, you end it. If it's not working, you move on. And one of the most terrifying things to me is when a baby's involved. Because all of a sudden when the baby's involved, or babies, your obligation is to the children. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, children are so much more intelligent than we are because they haven't been brainwashed into societal thinking. They haven't been brainwashed into how our society deems you conduct yourself. Children are free-spirited. They always, without fail, follow the path of least resistance. There's a beautiful quote that says, sometimes you have to talk to a 5-year-old to remember how the world works. It speaks for itself. And so often we underestimate children. We underestimate them. We underestimate what they understand. We underestimate what they pay attention to. We underestimate what they remember. In my personal life, I know growing up, I would talk to my parents, my aunts, my uncles, and just reminiscing about childhood stories. And I'll mention something, they'll be like, hold on a second, you remember that? I'm like, of course I do, I was there. And they're like, yeah, but you were only this age, and I don't know what to tell you, I remember. And where I'm going with this is that children, I'm so excited that science finally has quantifiable data to support energy and to support how it affects the human body and how it affects people and how it's real and it affects our interactions and it affects our way of life. And I feel like children, that's all they know is energy. All they know is what they perceive, and they may not know the words for it and they may not know how to communicate it well, but they're aware, they're not idiots. And so often when you're in a relationship that's not working and there's stress and there's anxiety and you're constantly fighting, that's what the child's picking up on. That's what it understands. One of the best pieces of advice from a parent's perspective, I think it was a dad who said this. I have absolutely no idea what the context is. I have absolutely no idea where I heard it. It's not my story, but it was something to the effect of, even though I'm divorced with my wife, whenever she's around in front of my children, I always treat her like gold. Always. Because that's their first understanding of relationships and how men treat women or how partners treat other partners, et cetera, et cetera. And I want to be that example for them, and I want to show them this is appropriate, this is how it should be. And I love that because he gets it, he understands. So it makes total sense to me that, for so long, divorce has been over 40%. Infidelity is 25 to 40%. There's this crazy quote in here from a show on the CW. One of the characters, it's the boss speaking, and he's talking to one of his staff. Give me a sec. Just gonna edit this part out. The boss is speaking to one of his staff, and he says, "How was the vacation?" And the staff says, "I realized I don't like my wife and kids, but thanks for lending me your home in the Caymans. Next time I'll bring my girlfriend." I remember bartending. This was in Boston. And this guy came in, this construction worker. And good-looking dude, came in, for a couple of beers and a burger during lunch. And we're having a decent conversation, everything's cool. And he's talking about his wife and how he's so lucky and she's so beautiful. He says it like a dozen times, like, makes great money, they have a great relationship, they're so happy, they travel, he's a construction worker, she I don't remember what it is that she did, but just going on about like gushing about his relationship and everything's great, everything's great, everything's great. And about 25 minutes into the conversation, he's like, my wife, like this and this and this. And he goes, don't get me wrong, I still have my Tuesday blowjob on the side. But, my wife's incredible.
Oh,
and
wow.
As he says it, I'm like, it was just, and you know me, I don't judge. Who am I? However, I couldn't help but think exactly what everyone else is thinking, which is, how interesting is it? Like, you're going on about how amazing your marriage is and how amazing your wife is, yet you have a Tuesday blowjob on the side. And hopefully there's time to discuss cheating in the end, but the point is...
Is he talking about a massage?
You know what?
It's Boston. You can't tell with their accent.
I'm
talking about a massage.
Listen, guy. Yeah, that's actually a thing. Accents for sure. You know what? I'm just repeating what I heard for sake of continuity, but the point is that for so long that's just a common thing, and it's not weird, and it's not out of character for some people, and I think it was a product of the times for so long, and I say was because, as the name suggests, it's a new society, it's a new world, and I feel like, once again, for those of you that need to hear, for whatever reason, again, no judgment assigned, for those people that need to hear that verbal confirmation, this is your verbal confirmation that you could have a great relationship. You don't have to follow the examples of the previous generations. For those of us that didn't have positive, healthy relationships to look up to as role models growing up, it doesn't have to stop you. For those of us that did, you get it. You understand. It's beautiful, and honor that if that's what you want. And here's the thing. Relationships are person-specific. We do not live in a one-size-fits-all society, people. Just because I feel a certain way about relationships doesn't mean that my friends feel the same, doesn't mean that my siblings feel the same, doesn't mean that my parents feel the same. Guess what? No one else is in that relationship but me. So it's up to me to decide what it is that I want. It's up to me to decide how I want that to go. I know my plan for my life. I know my objectives. I know how I feel about children. I know how I feel about where I see myself in 10 years, 25 years, 50 years. And it's up to me to bring that to fruition. No one else. And when it comes to the intimate details, I don't have to tell anybody anything at all, because it's my relationship. I'm the one in it. And it's up to me to make sure that I'm fulfilled. The end. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Let's go. I am so pumped. What else?
Oh, there's lots more. There's gotta be lots more.
So much more. So there's a super cute movie called The Half of It on Netflix, and I watched it a while ago. I definitely remember it. I remember appreciating it. I remember, like, I think, this might have been, I don't know when it was, but I remember watching it and being like, this is cute, I think it was like a Sunday. And I think this is at the beginning of the movie, and it goes like this. The ancient Greeks believed humans once had 4 arms, 4 legs, and a single head made of 2 faces. We were happy, complete. So complete that the gods, let me start over. The ancient Greeks believed humans once had 4 arms, 4 legs, and a single head made of 2 faces. We were so happy, complete. So complete that the gods, fearing our wholesomeness, would quell our need for worship. Let me make this just a little bit bigger so I can read it better. Cleaved us in 2, leaving our split selves to wander the earth in misery, forever longing for the other half of our soul. It is said that when one half finds its other, there is an unspoken understanding, a unity, and each would know no greater joy. Beautiful sentiment.
I like that, yeah.
Right? Beautiful sentiment. I interpreted it as soulmates. Some would call that a twin flame union. But to me, it's true. It's real. It's love. I had two amazing conversations about relationships, ironically, in the last 24 hours. The first one was one of my girlfriends called me yesterday, and she's like, Carlo. I'm like, yes. And she goes, I met him. And I go, who? And she's like, him. And I go, oh.
Brad Pitt.
Obvi.
Okay.
Obvi. Because we've been talking about, so we met and she was dating this one guy, and soon after she basically was like, you know what, I've put the effort in, I'm not getting the results that I want, it's time for me to move on. And for a long time she was convinced that, you know, she didn't do enough, she needed to try harder, and so she did. She was patient, she was understanding, and she was almost overcompensating for his inability to communicate as much as she would have liked. And we talked a lot about this, and what it boiled down to, as far as she was concerned, was that he just didn't have it in him. You know, for whatever reason, he was blocked. He wasn't able to express himself, and she spent so much time, you know, just trying to interpret what it was that he was feeling, and how much he was or wasn't being fulfilled. And again, she couldn't deal with it anymore, and she decided to move on. And then the second guy she found herself with, there was communication, but there was a lot of trauma that came up. I always talk about Cal Kingsbury, a part of Aubrey Marcus's tribe. They both have awesome podcasts. I highly recommend checking them out. They're so good. A lot of what we were talking about, and what I love so much about it, is that they use themselves as examples. And Kyle was talking, I think it was the Archetype episode on Aubrey Marcus's podcast. He was talking about how so often he would be, you know, fighting with his wife, and before you know it, he's 8 years old and his mom's yelling at him. And in that moment, he's like, that has nothing to do with her. That's me. That's my trauma. That's stuff that I need to deal with. And he'd be like, and I hope I'm accurate when I say this, but it was something to the effect of, you know, her saying, there are tears streaming down your face right now. You're clearly having an emotional reaction to what it is that we're discussing. Talk to me.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't do it. And in this case, the story that I'm talking about, it was a lot about, there was a lot of trauma, and things were said aggressively so, and it was just too much for her. And she's like, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this. I've tried communicating. I've tried, you know, sharing with you where I'm coming from. It never seems good enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And she just felt like, why does this always happen? Why am I always stuck in these relationships with guys who, you know, like these huge issues and whatnot? And, you know, we talked about it, and I basically, you know, as a coach and just having conversations, I always put it back on her. I'm like, I don't think it's about them. I think it's about you. I think it's about, well, I
thought you were gonna go a different route. I was like, I have my whole like Scorpio mindset over here. Like, I thought you were gonna give it a good, but no. Okay. Continue with your thought.
I'm curious to know what you thought.
No, it just goes back to her. It's a reflection of herself.
Mm-hmm.
What she attracts.
I'm glad I could meet your expectations.
Yeah. Destruction.
Well, again, the only power that anyone has over you is what you give them. In my previous relationships, at this stage of the game, from my perspective looking back, I'm grateful for everything that I experienced because it's who I am now, and I love me. I'm very, very happy and content and fulfilled being who I am, and it's awesome, and I never I always heard about feeling this way about yourself, but I had nothing to compare it to. I didn't know. And now it's wild, and I highly recommend it to every single person who comes across this. I'm able to say I love you to myself in the mirror, and as obnoxious and hokey and foolish as that sounds, try it. Try looking in the mirror, telling yourself, I love you, and meaning it. Not feeling awkward, not feeling weird, but feeling the sincerity behind it, and like getting excited and getting giddy and seeing how your body reacts. If it's a good reaction, awesome, good for you. If it's not, how do you feel about that? Are you cool with it? Would you like to know what the opposite feels like? Food for thought. And so getting back to her and whatnot, I was just like, like I said, relationships are my number 2. I don't even know if I finished this earlier, but relationships are the number 2 topic of discussion. And the only reason that it's not number 1 is because I always bring it back to the person. I always say, the only power that someone has over you is the power that you give them. So why'd you give it away? What was the thinking? What was the thought process? What was the scenario? Let's discuss that. And long story shorter, she met this guy and she was like, oh my God. She's like, it's so great and it's so effortless and it's so easy and it's so natural that it stresses me out. It gives me anxiety. And I said, it's because you're not used to it. That's all. So often we ask. We have a laundry list of expectations and needs and desires and non-negotiables. And non-negotiables are everything. If you don't have a non-negotiables list, I don't think you're doing yourself justice. I don't think you're doing yourself justice at all. I think you are who you are, and once again, we do not live in a one-size-fits-all society, and it's up to you to honor that person. Because A, no one else knows them better than you, and B, it's why you're here. To live your life on your terms and live by example as far as I'm concerned. I also always say that we're all in this together. And when I see someone struggling in a way that A, I identify, or B, can relate to, I feel like, okay, cool, I'm identifying with this for a reason. Like, let me drop some seeds of knowledge. If they're interested. I'm not trying to force my opinion or my ideals on anyone. If people come to me and they start a conversation, awesome, let's do it. If not, cool, do your thing, you're good. But I always say that people have a list of things that they want, yet when they find it, you have no idea how many times I've seen people sabotage exactly what it is that they wanted simply because they asked for it, but they spent no time doing the work to make sure that they're in a position to receive it when it enters their lives.
It's the concept of the Holy Grail. But yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about that in a second. And think about it. How often? I've actually seen people who have been in dysfunctional relationships, where there's been cheating, where there's been dishonesty, when they've, said one thing but done another. And then they meet someone who is patient, is kind. If it's a girl date, like meeting a guy of their dreams, he's a gentleman. He's chivalrous. He opens the door. He pays for everything. And the girl's like, I can't with any of this. It's weird. Like, do you have a bad bone in your body? Do you get mad, bro? Like, I need some intensity. I need some passion. I need et cetera, et cetera. And it has nothing to do with who he is. It has everything to do with the fact that you're used to dating a certain kind of guy. You're used to being in a certain kind of relationship. With girls, with guys dating girls, it's the exact same thing. I know a guy who dated a girl. She was everything. She held him accountable. She called him on his bullshit. Like, he would try to pick fights with her, and she'd be like, listen, this has nothing to do with me. You're not crazy. You're freaking out over something that happened a year ago, before we were together. You're freaking out about the fact that I didn't answer my phone for a little bit. You knew where I was. You knew the people that I was with. Why didn't you text someone else if you cared that much? Why didn't you show up at the bar that we were at if you cared that much? Get out of here. Like, no, this is silly. We're not fighting about this. And Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things like when you're talking about it, it makes so much sense in the moment. Yet when you're experiencing it for some reason, you're all of a sudden an invalid. You're aloof and you don't know how to conduct yourself and you don't know how to honor yourself. You don't know how to honor your commitments. You don't know, et cetera, et cetera. And
jail.
For some people, that's what ends up happening.
Hopefully.
So you were saying about the Holy Grail?
No, we're not going to talk about that.
All right.
That's secret information that
you're
not ready for yet.
All right.
You are. They aren't.
Oh, how do you feel about that, you guys? Call them out.
Jail, I already said.
I need to put this away. I don't know why I'm looking at it right now. Perfect. It's down there. It's all good. So, so back to relationships. Let's see.
What is that?
A relationship?
No. I kind of want to eat a cookie, but I don't want to eat a cookie on screen, but I'm also going to eat a cookie on screen.
I don't see why you wouldn't eat a cookie, regardless of whether or not it was on screen. Let's see. So alternative when it comes to relationships, you work so hard. So often, hear variations. After a breakup, the best thing to do. Wow, I covered so much of this. Oh yeah.
We're going fast.
I know. Exactly what I wanted. Yeah. For some people, it effortlessly works. They can't imagine being with anyone else. As always said, why does the honeymoon period have to end? I've always said, perfect one, when it comes to the honeymoon period.
Ooh, that would suck.
What? What? Speak.
Continue. That was so funny. There's gonna be people that get that.
So, I'm gonna give him a minute to convulse in the corner. Do your thing. You're fine. No rush. I got a ton of notes to get through at the moment. Do you need a minute?
Okay, continue. The cookie was just that good.
They are good. Earlier I said the second best piece of relationship advice that I've ever heard was in your household when you have children, you can date, but nothing serious until you're 25. Like always, take what works, leave what doesn't. For me, I thought it was brilliant because of the message behind it, because of the intention. For some people, that won't work, and that's cool. Take what works, leave what doesn't. However, the best piece of relationship advice that I've ever heard, ever, is when you meet someone, you're having a blast, you're having a really freaking good time, let's do this until it's not fun anymore. Let's do this until it's not fun anymore. I feel like relationships are supposed to be awesome. They're supposed to be not necessarily the best part of your life, but when you're committed to being with someone indefinitely, particularly if you get married, I haven't been proposed to, but I have every intention of saying yes. Just one time. Just once. And I'd like to think that when I say yes, a certain number of things will have been
checked off.
Exactly. Which is what brings me there. In the event that it doesn't work out, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But here's the thing. If I'm with you, I want to be the best part of your life. Doesn't mean I'm going to be. It doesn't mean that I'm going to bend over backwards to try to make that happen like I have in the past. I have no problem saying that. We're people. We grow. I'm alive. However, I'm excited for everything that happens next because, again, I feel like I'm able to offer great advice because I advise myself regularly with everything, particularly when it comes to relationships, in the sense that
You've been through it, you've seen it, you've done it, you've life coached.
Thank you. Like I said, I'm the most important person in my life. For the first time ever, but the world revolves around me, which is how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be the center of your universe. It's how it works as far as I'm concerned. If you disagree, please share. Let me know. Comments below. Let's talk about it.
To rebut that, but continue.
You know, I fulfill me. I have a laundry list of things that I'm excited to get done from here moving forward. And something that I didn't know or I just wasn't there when I first, in my first few relationships were, that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be about me. And I'm supposed to show up with who I am to meet in the middle with the person that I'm with. But to bypass all of that, if I'm dating you, I want to be the best part of your world. If you're having a bad day, I want to be able to make it better. If you're having a great day, I want to be able to make it better. If you're struggling and you don't know what to do, regardless of whether I'm an expert in whatever it is that you're stressed about, I at least want to be able to offer support. I want to be able to offer you an ear. I want to be able to help you think logically and come to the best conclusion that serves you. Not me, but you. Obviously, your decisions are going to affect me if we're together, but I feel like even then, not as much as your average person thinks. It's how it should be. With that said, be careful about your relationship being the best part of your life. I mean, I think it should be, in regards to my life is going really well and I want someone to share it with. I want someone to celebrate with. When it's not going well, I want someone to be my counsel, to advise me. I used to hate the term partner because it sounded so old to me. Whereas now it's my partner in life. It's you and me against the world. It should be. Like, I am who I am and you chose to be with me and I chose to be with you. First and foremost, I need to make sure that you know who it is that you're with. I need to not hold back. I need to be my authentic self. I need to make it clear who I am, what I want, how I want my life to go, my non-negotiables, my ideals. You should know me, from my perspective, you should know me better than anyone. And with that said, it just makes you closer. It bonds you together. You're a unit. It's you and that person against the world. And I'm not saying screw your family, screw this person, that person, it's all about them, but I'd like to think that you know what I mean. Like I said before, it's someone else's business what goes on in their relationship. As long as consent is there, no one's hurt, and no rules or laws are broken, I don't see what the problem is.
You lost me at the third one.
No rules or laws are broken?
You don't have to repeat it.
We are not going to unbox that.
That's like the...
Let's see if I'm missing anything else. So Abraham Hicks, social formula for the perfect relationship. And I realized something when she was saying that so many people do. Why so many marriages and divorce? It's because they don't spend enough time building the relationship or the partner. More importantly, how they fit in the That's all I have. Guys, thank you so much. This was so fun.
Just ending it like that abruptly? Like, that's all I have. Goodbye, guys.
I mean, I talked a lot.
What do you mean now?
Listen, I talked for what, 50 minutes?
No, I know it was good. I was just
Yeah.
very abrupt there.
Yeah, I mean, why fake the funk? Why this masquerade, right?
Yeah.
I was so excited to do this. Like I said, I believe that this is actually
this
the
was
first.
really good. This podcast was really good.
Hell yeah! Oh yeah! Let's go!
Let's go!
I think this was the first episode that I think I said this to you off camera. This was the first episode that I had a full, like, this was the first one that I did. I just had so much information. I had such a unique perspective. I felt like I started dating myself. I said no to a couple of different people as far as prospects, and I just wanted to spend time with myself and just be with me, and I was so empowered to be able to do that. I feel like I always heard stories about people like, you know, just, I guess I feel like I've always been the kind of person who everyone deserves a shot, you know, like you could always be surprised. You could always be pleasantly surprised. And so whenever someone, you know, asked me out or showed interest, I always wanted to give them a shot. For the most part, I did. There are probably less than a handful that I said no to, like right off the bat. But for the most part, I always went on dates. I always saw how it went, and so often it was disappointing. Not because they were disappointing, but just because.
I mean, that's kind of what you said.
That's actually not what I said at all.
That's a lot of what you said.
You know what? Maybe it is. I don't know. Let's rewind the tape and find out. But I was disappointed. It's the truth. It's the absolute truth. And maybe I was disappointed in myself. Maybe I was disappointed in the fact that I did it again. I, put myself out there.
Authentic to what you wanted at that time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it boiled down to, was that I wasn't honoring myself. I knew that I wasn't into it. And that's the other thing. Like, I'm not desperate. And for a long time, even though I never really felt desperate, I felt like I was desperately open, if that makes sense. My friends will attest to this. They have no problem telling me when they thought I was making a bad decision. No problem at all. And in their defense, more times than not, they were right. I get it. It makes sense. But be the center of your universe. Date yourself first, because so often we find ourselves, or we find, people that we care about in relationships where they're hoping desperately to have their shortcomings fulfilled, and they're looking in the wrong place. It's up to you to do it. Do the work now. If you're single, stop feeling sorry for yourself. This is my advice. Again, take what works, leave what doesn't. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Do the work. Instead of waiting to be in a relationship to do all these amazing, epic, partner, like boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife of the year, things, do them for yourself. See how you like it. Maybe you won't. Maybe, from a peripheral perspective, you're like, oh my God, that's such a romantic thing. I would love someone to do this for me. And either A, it's done for you, or B, you do it for yourself and you're like, this ain't shit. I'm kind of over it.
Yeah.
I'm cool if no one ever does this for me again. And that's the other thing. Here we are talking about going against the grain. I don't know how to say this, but it's from both perspectives. If there's something that, like I just said, if there's something that you've always wanted, or, like something in a relationship that you feel like is vital for you to be happy and to thrive, I have absolutely no idea how to go about it, but test it out. You know what I mean? Some things are obviously easier than others, but it's up to you. It's your relationship. It's your happiness. And if you're not happy, if you're not thriving, if you're not with if you're not fulfilled, you're doing something wrong. It's not about your partner. It's about you. That's what I wanted to say. I'm so glad I remembered. I had a girlfriend who had a hard time communicating what she wanted. She was of the mentality that he should know. He should know. I shouldn't have to say anything.
Your reaction to that, you're like...
The two words that I would love to see abolished from the English language are should and supposed. Whenever she said, he should know, my response was, says who? Says who? Who says he should know? Who says this is how relationships are supposed to go? What I'm hearing is you saying what you want a relationship to be, but it doesn't mean that it's supposed to be that way. It doesn't mean that he failed you by not living up to that expectation. It doesn't mean that he failed you by not being psychic and being able to telepathically just pick up on your cues. Your happiness is your responsibility. If you don't communicate what it is that you want, you have no one to blame but yourself. If you're in a relationship now and you could be far more fulfilled than you are, have that discussion. You said I do. You stood up in front of your friends, in front of your family, in front of God, and you professed, you promised. One of the biggest things that I absolutely hated, actually arguably the biggest thing that I hated about relationships growing up that I always heard was, I touched upon it earlier, but I'm going to add something else to it. I'm talking about the honeymoon period. I believe the honeymoon period is a farce. Doesn't have to be a period. I cannot wait to have this discussion with you, bro. I believe the honeymoon period is a farce. I believe it's ridiculous. Like, why does it have to be a period? Why does it have to end? I feel like the honeymoon period ends because as far as you're concerned, all right, we got the rings, you're mine, I'm yours, we're good. The whole concept of, after marriage, the sex dies, that's on you, bro. That's on you, boo. Seriously. You want sex, either A, be with a partner who wants it as much as you do, and B, keep that shit alive. Keep it alive. I feel like so many people roll their eyes or get uncomfortable, get weirded out by role-playing or by fetishes or by, the thought of attending a sex party. I've never attended a sex party. I'm very open to it. I think it'd be exciting and fun and adventurous. But I'm just saying, do something. Your relationship is your responsibility. Your happiness is your responsibility. If you're not having as much sex as you would like, if you're not being as fulfilled as you'd like, that's on you. My relationship Bible is the 5 love languages. Absolutely incredible. I get it for every single couple. When they get married, and since I discovered it, and it talks about how every single person fits into one of 5 languages, or more. There are quality time, physical touch, acts of service, gift giving, and words of affirmation. I have 3. Quality time, physical touch, words of affirmation. However, the other 2 present themselves in my relationships as well when they see fit. Look into it. Figure out who you are. Your happiness is your responsibility. Find a partner that either A, speaks your language, or B, is willing to learn your language. I posted something. That's why I had my phone.
It's already broken.
Do you? Thanks. Do you have your phone next to you?
No, we're recording on my phone, sir.
Bro, crazy.
What do you want to look up?
It's on my gram. What was it that I said? I don't remember. Too many thoughts.
Yeah, this ain't gonna work.
But relationships are awesome, and if you're not happy about them, you're not in the right one. Oh. Also, maybe you're not a relationship person. Maybe you want to be single. There are those people too, and live your truth. No one says you have to be in one, and if they do, you don't have to listen. There's so many people, so many single parents now who are adopting single or are, just having children single, and it's beautiful. You don't need anyone. If you don't want a person, you don't need to be with someone. If you do it. But find the right person. Put the right effort in. And live your truth. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. I feel like there's so much that I missed. But you know what? That's what round 2s are for. If you like this, let us know.
They're gonna like it. They have no option.
Oh. You heard it. Again, my name is Carlo Jean-Michel. Jordan Peterson. Thank you so much for tuning into New Society, and we will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
The honeymoon period. You not get it? Your period on the honeymoon? I was like, it's gonna suck.
I was so nervous that's where you were going with it, and I was like, this mo-bo.
It's funny!
I came in hot, huh?
Yeah.